everybody? How are you doing tonight? It is Sunday night. That means it's FMTV Weekly. I'm Peter Brown, and I'm happy to be here tonight. We are going to talk a little bit about Miami FC. So that's something new. We haven't talked about Miami FC in quite a while, but hey, it's the off season. So let's talk about all the Miami clubs in the off season. So that's what we're going to do tonight. As always, we want your involvement. So get active in the chat. Throw us a voicemail. We'll give you that number in a minute. But before we do that, we have to say hello to everybody's favorite uncle. Say hi to Uncle Ed. As soon as there he goes.
How's it going, guys? I had to pause my finger pointing that I usually do. I'm shooting at everybody. Thanks for joining us once again. I'm everybody's favorite uncle, even though there's so many uncles nowadays.
There's a debate.
I got competition now. There's so many uncles. Uncle Ted, Uncle Ned, all we need is Uncle Fred. But today we've got a guest who we can call Uncle Drew.
Yeah, we'll get to Drew in just a minute or two. But so Drew is a member of the Magic City podcast, and we'll talk a little bit more of that, and they focus on Miami FC. So Drew's been a friend of ours for many, many, many years, back in the old Striker days and Miami FC days and all that kind of good stuff. So we'll get to all that in a moment. Before we do need to tell you where to go shopping. If you want to get a hat that looks like this, or something like that,
this,
or that, you want to dress as cool as Uncle Ed. Well, then you need to go to Caneswear. Go to Caneswear. It's located in Davie and very conveniently located right off of University and 595, just a little bit south of 595, close to the college over there. They've got your best selection of Inter Miami gear at the lowest prices. Guaranteed. I know that the Inter Miami at Drive Pink Stadium, they've had their store open, and that's cool. But you want to get that same stuff at a lower price, you go to Caneswear. And if it's too far away from you, if you're living in Kendall and you think Davie's just too far, no problem. Go to Caneswear.com and get all your gear. All orders over $99 shipped for free. And if you want to get the XBTO club sponsor on any shirt, if Ed wants to get it on that shirt right there, he could, and they'll do that for $10. That's dirt cheap, just because they want to get you in the door, because they know once you come in, you'll buy some more stuff, because they got
best selection in South Florida, right there.
All right, Ed. So before we get to Drew, let's say hello. There's not as many people in the chat right now, or if you're here, you haven't announced yourself. So let's say hello to those people in the chat real quick.
Chime in, guys. I want to start off with Baldwin 4. He was the first guy that was on here saying hello to us. Our good friend B King is also on here. We've seen him at the stadium a few times. He's actually won some stuff from us too.
Yeah, he has.
He has. At One World, One Goal, she's always supporting us and always giving us suggestions of who we can get on the show. We appreciate that. And she leaves us messages all the time, too. Judge Dread the Law, how you doing, bud? Thanks for joining us. Chris Menendez, what's up, buddy? He's always at the stadium, too. Chris Arjun, probably the best photographer in the history of Inter Miami.
He just had a birthday, so happy birthday, Chris.
Happy birthday, Chris. A new Wiseman, tell us, dude.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
lost.
Man.
They're out.
We'll talk about that in a bit. We also have Kata, who's inside the chat room. And guys, don't forget to call in if you can. And leave us a message for Drew if you want to talk about Miami FC or any lower division team in South Florida. We're going to cover everything that we can. So do it. Give us a call.
All right, so let's not let him wait in the green room any longer. Let's welcome in our guest. Drew Hausman has been a soccer fan down here in South Florida for a long time. He's doing some stuff with the Magic City soccer website and their podcasts and all that kind of stuff, but been a big fan of the lower levels of soccer for sure. And so let's welcome in our buddy, Drew Hausman. Drew, how you doing?
I'm doing great, guys. Sorry for the cheap background.
Yeah,
that happens. I forgot to tell you to put something green in the background. We could have hooked it up.
I was going to get an old Ultras Alive logo and just put it in the background.
Oh, look at that.
See, Drew goes way back. Drew, how you been? It's been a long time. We haven't talked to you in quite a while.
I've been doing good. Hanging out, going to some Miami FC games this year. We're out of the playoffs, and now it's a fun off season for everybody.
Great. Well, I mean, great that you made it to the playoffs. But and so everybody, we'll talk to Drew and we'll talk Miami FC for probably the first half of the show, and then we'll switch gears and cover a little of Inter Miami and just talk about if you know anything you guys in the chat want to talk. But if anybody at this time wants to talk about Miami FC, you could call us at 786-474-4435. Leave a voicemail. We'll play it, and you'll get your opinions. If you have any questions about Miami FC, Drew probably is a good resource. So, Drew, let's start off and just talk about Miami FC. The team in South Florida that I don't know if people may have forgotten about because Inter Miami came into town, and we always knew this would be a challenge for a lower level league to play again in the same basic market as an MLS team. But Miami FC is doing it, and the ownership is backs them for a long time, and you guys are now in the USL Championship. I mean, Ricardo Silva hung with this team back, through playing at local high schools in terrible fields against. I saw him play against games against Boca Raton Football Club in this bumpy, terrible field in the NPSL. Now you guys have finally made it to the championship, and this year you guys made it to the playoffs. And this is the second year in the championship, right?
Yeah, the second year. The first year last year, because of COVID, they kind of did regional bracketing for almost like bubble soccer. But this was second year, first full year playing the normal schedule. But yeah, it's funny you mention it because we're I think I was saying to somebody else that I think the team's been in 4 different leagues in like 5 years, called a field home, 5 different fields. It's kind of ridiculous. Yeah. So kind of the team that Miami's forgotten. I will agree with that. It's just unfortunate you go from Division 2 to 4 to kind of a makeshift 3, but we're back in 2. So
they've won a lot of trophies, Drew. That's
everywhere
the thing,
they played. Everywhere they played, basically, they've won championships.
Yeah, I mean, that's another thing. Just going off to the ownership, showing that they were still committed. Not to throw any stones at them, but kind of the Jacksonville Armada when the NASL collapsed, they kind of joined the NPSL with us, and the ownership clearly didn't care as much. Put a little less money in player investment, let a lot of guys go, and they kind of faded away more. But it's good that Ricardo Silva was able to, kind of stick with his vision and get them back playing at FIU again in second division. So I think it's a whole process of trying to basically rebrand your same brand.
Well, and that was a struggle. I mean, I've heard people say that, I know a couple of friends, actually a couple of people that Ed gave tickets to that sat next to me at one of the games. The very next weekend, they went to a Miami FC game, and a couple of our old Strikers friends. And I think the comment that they mentioned was that there was tens of people at the stadium, not thousands. There was tens of people. So it is one of those things where the fans haven't really been showing up, but the team is always entertaining. Ricardo Silva puts the resources into the team to get good quality players. It's a team that should be supported. Why do you think what's the challenge to get more people into the stadium?
I think the challenge was when the NASL collapsed. They kind of their claim to fame was that U.S. Open Cup run where they beat Orlando, and then they ended up beating Atlanta United and then losing to FC Cincinnati. So those were probably the highest attended games. And then the following year to basically get knocked down into Division 4 and have to relocate. I think for those 2 years they were off, people were still confused that they thought the team folded. They thought they still played in FIU, but just didn't go. And then when they came back, there was the COVID season. So obviously nobody can come for attendance. And then this year, I'm not sure why, but, half the season they didn't let fans in. And then it seemed like a random game. They were like, hey, in 2 weeks, we're going to let everybody back in. And there was no marketing. There was no marketing campaign behind it. And I think the first year we saw buses, the Metro Rail kind of billboards up, and this one was just like a tweet and some Instagram posts that are saying, "Hey, fans, come back." So, I mean, obviously, yeah, it seemed like they didn't really know when they were going to open, but some of the marketing stuff, I still think they're trying to figure out. There's a lot of turnover in the front office.
Well, let's talk about that. I know that there was turnover. There was somebody on the business. I don't know if he was on the business side. I think he was on the business side, right? They brought in a new guy there, and then more recently, Paul Dalglish stepped away from the club or was fired and agreed to leave. Whatever, you know how they word these things. So
mysterious.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll tell you, I got a chance to. One of our earlier videos, maybe 2 years ago or something like that, I got a chance to sit with Paul at the offices in front of all those trophies that they have and do a nice little interview with him. One of the coolest guys, one of the most down-to-earth, good people. So really, sad to see him go. But what are your thoughts on these shakeups, with both the front office and also with Paul?
I mean, the front office, it was kind of expected. There's just a lot of turnover in lower division soccer, and then obviously when you go from Division 2 to 4, you can't afford the payroll to keep a lot of these guys on. So, when they were in NPSL and NISA, a lot of the guys left, and they were trying to rehire the past 2 years. But the Paul Dalglish was interesting. I love the guy; he's super nice, but I also think maybe it was time to move on.
Okay.
My opinions are not the ones of Magic City Soccer.
Yeah.
But, I mean, he's a great guy, and I think he had a lot to do with getting Miami FC back into the USL, because what they actually did was they bought the rights to the Ottawa Fury, which was the team he used to coach. So I think he had a lot to do in the conversation and bringing them in, and maybe he was the one who convinced Ricardo to take the step back into Division 2. But, on paper, he had... He won a lot of trophies, but with a very high payroll. I love those NPSL teams, but a lot of the times we were fielding a $3 to $4 million team and playing purely amateur players. So
yeah, it was almost an MLS level club playing against a high school team.
Yeah, or like a USL substitute and bench team playing. Just beating teams 11-0 in Broward on a Tuesday.
Well, that's kind of nice. I mean, they had the resources.
I mean, and the second year we got to play the Cosmos away in Long Island, so that was kind of fun because it was like, okay, they're fielding a professional team, and I think Strikers alumni Ali Hassan was on the Cosmos at that point, so. That was probably the most fun competitive match. Yeah, maybe. But that was like it was good to have that level of competitiveness. But I don't know. Even in the letter of his departure, he put his winning record in it, and I was kind of like, all right.
Well, that's
I mean, he did good in the USL, and obviously that COVID season was tough. And the first season back in, they had a very limited window to put a team together because they only got the rights to play in the USL like last minute. So they were just grabbing guys from wherever. They released most of them before this year. So this year, I think, was the big restructure where it's like, here's your chance. We got to the playoffs and lost our first game against a good team, but it was unfortunate.
Where do you...
He also...
He
also benched our starting keeper for the whole season for a loney goalie at the last minute.
Okay. Where do you think
for our playoff?
Where do you think the club goes?
For our playoff game, we loaned a goalie from Hartford and started him for the playoff game. Who's never played with the team, so I thought that was an interesting take. But as far as where the team goes, there's been a lot of coaches' names thrown out. I hope they kind of grab somebody local. I heard of maybe plucking an assistant coach or something from Inter Miami is in the mix, but
there was talk about what's his name, Darren Powell, the Fort Lauderdale coach. It was the name that I heard mentioned that was being thrown around. I would say as an Inter Miami fan, I wouldn't want that to happen just for consistency. Not that he's done some amazing job with Fort Lauderdale, but I mean, it's a development team. But just for consistency's sake, you don't want him to go. But yeah, I saw that name getting thrown around amongst others. So do you have a wish list? I mean, do you kind of somebody you want them to go after?
I mean, Zidane, something like that, or who's available right now?
I mean, just because of the Ricardo Silva connection and everything, I think it would be interesting to bring in somebody non-American, kind of like the Nesta experiment.
Right.
I had my complaints about him. Yeah, it was huge, and it drew people in. Was he the best coach? No. Did he get his stuff together towards the end? Kind of, with a little cash infusion, but
that helps always.
Yeah, I think Miami FC, the story is their coaches are aided by cash.
I mean, that's the way it is for most clubs around the world, So
yeah.
You look like a great coach when you got the finances behind you.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much recycling and stuff in American soccer with coaches and stuff. I guess the other one that would be interesting would be Nelson Vargas, who used to be Miami FC's assistant coach, local guy. Seemed like all the players loved him. So who knows? I think they'll probably just announce it last minute, but I think it's going to be a pretty big name, well, pretty big for Division 2.
Yeah, I mean, if they want to be taken serious as a USL Championship club, because I mean, USL Championship's no joke. I mean, there's some it's good level soccer. I mean, a lot of our people watching this are focusing only on MLS or teams outside of the country, but USL is a good quality league, and so you can't just bring in some high school coach from Shanahan High School or whatever down here and throw them in there like you could for an NPSL club. Basically like I'm drawing a blank. You would know who was the guy that was the interim coach, then became the full-time coach and didn't last through the first season. For Miami FC,
wasn't Nestor Vargas? Yeah, wasn't he the one? Yeah.
Yeah, it was always Nesta.
No.
Wasn't it Vargas?
I thought it was Vargas. You mentioned Vargas. I thought that was
no. Yeah, they had Vargas for a little bit. Yeah, and then they dumped him.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He didn't do because he wasn't any good at it. He the way I understood it, he was excited to get the job as the NPSL coach because that's kind of okay. He's getting into coaching. That's his next step. I mean, he's an assistant, but now this is his first step as a head coach. And then he got through, and then it's like, oh, surprise, you're going to the championship. And he was not prepared. So, you need to get somebody of a higher caliber if you want to be taken serious. And Ricardo Silva throughout the years has always tried to take this somewhat serious. I mean, he's put money behind it. He's tried to compete against MLS. He's tried to bash MLS any chance he can. He
has a very serious legal team.
Yeah, exactly. But so if he still believes in this club, and that's another thought. Do you think that he's long term with this club? I mean, because if nobody's showing up in the stands, how long is he going to keep this going, or is it just a tax write off, or what?
Yeah. It's kind of unclear what his plans are with it. It seems like it's I think he has this vision of changing American soccer, and it all sounds great, but I don't think it's not really on pace to happen. But I mean, I'm happy as long as he has a team here. I don't know if at any point he even cares about profitability, or maybe it's just one of those millionaire things where I own a soccer team, but. The good thing is he does seem to care about the team.
Right.
The attendance hasn't been there, but it's not like he's not trying on the field. He's still trying to put out a good product. So that's at least a good thing. It's not neglected.
And he's putting the money in, and he's putting the effort. So
yeah,
it's but how long will he be able to do this? I wonder.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, and whenever someday, Inter Miami plays in Miami, we assume it'll happen someday. It's going to be even a bigger challenge.
Eventually. Right. Sometime this century.
It'll even be a bigger challenge for Miami FC to draw fans. But, for us, I mean, I want them to succeed. I've got the gear for a reason. I have not gone to any games this year. I really wanted to, and I will try my best to get to some games next year. But the funny thing is, this, all of you guys, everybody, a lot of you watching this, you only have so much limited entertainment time away from the family. And my wife will go with me to Inter Miami games, but it's going to be a bit of a stretch to convince her to go to a Miami FC game because she has been to those lower division games, and there's just not as enticing for my wife as it is to someone like us. I mean, we're soccer geeks. We'll
and it's interesting because we sit right next to each other at the stadium, and his wife is bashing on Higuain.
Oh,
it's really entertaining,
the whole game.
Drew. Yeah, next time you got to go, man, because it's fun.
Well, I think the good news for the matchup is that this year they've already started the local qualifiers for the U.S. Open Cup. So after 2 years of canceling it, it seems like that's back in the route. The only concern is I think they reshuffled how the MLS teams get seeded into it. Like you automatically don't get in the fourth round. They're going to split them into 2 different rounds, I think, based off the previous year's record. But hopefully the next season, Miami get matched up, or the year after. But I think that'll help everything, like the rivalry, and kind of stir up some more stuff. Like it'll be fun to get, even if you guys play the Tampa Bay Rowdies, or or like.
I want to play the Rowdies. I want to play the Rowdies.
Just something weird.
But the thing is, Ricardo, like we mentioned, Ricardo's got the finances,
and you'll play them.
Well, Ricardo's got the finances, so he'll want to make he'll want to beat Inter Miami. So that would be interesting to see.
All right, I hear we have a voicemail. I'm hoping the voicemail is about Miami FC and all that kind of stuff. But let's give this a listen. Let's see if you guys can hear it.
Hey, Drew, welcome to the show. And Peter and Uncle Ed, it's One World, One Goal, Italia, the Fusionados, if you go back that far. And I remember you guys from the Ultras Alive, from the Miami Ultras days. And just curious, what do you think? Because I think the average fan is a little confused from all the branding and the renames of all the different lower division leagues. What do you think about them ever creating the MLS 2 and MLS 3, so that we have 1, 2, and 3 under the same umbrella? I know obviously a lot of people don't like that because they think it's a monopoly, but I think it's really difficult for the fans to understand, the Tampa Bay Rowdies are doing so well, and then we have our Fort Lauderdale team, which they really haven't done any branding at all. People don't understand that actually those two are not even in the same league. So it's a little confusion for the fans, and just your thoughts on, how you see investment in the future being able to really, replicate leagues that people can get behind, because they should be selling the jerseys for all these leagues. Look how good Peter looks in that jersey. So we want the Fort Lauderdale jersey, and we really want to see more fans get behind all the other divisions. Okay, thanks. Love you guys. Love the show.
Peter, I want to jump in real quick. The difference between MLS and the rest of the world is that MLS is a separate company. Mm-hmm. They're doing their own thing. In the rest of the world, most of the leagues are run by the federation. Mm-hmm. So, for example, in Ecuador, the federation runs the league, and so the rest of the lower divisions are run by the federation. So here it's different because the federation that is not in charge of all that. We've got a separate company that's doing it. So that's why it's even more confusing for people here, because it's all a business here, man. This is capitalism at its best.
And they're all separate companies. USL is its own company. NISA is its own company. NPSL, it's its own. They all are. So what are your thoughts on what One World, One Goal had to say, Drew?
Even going down to branding, I still think there's a large pocket of people in Miami that aren't too big into American soccer, that might be into soccer, that still don't know the difference between Miami FC and Inter Miami.
True.
If you do a couple Twitter searches, it gets very confusing and very mashed up very quickly.
Just to give you an idea about that, whenever you put out a podcast or anything like that, you have to add tags. You add tags to your post so that it gets people's attention. I tag this every single week as Inter Miami CF, Inter Miami FC, and Miami FC. Not because we're going to talk about Miami FC as much, but because there are people that call Inter Miami Miami FC. So you are right that there is 100% that confusion.
Yeah, and I think that's just when we're kind of going off topic topic, but I think just the fact that the MLS team just didn't have a name for so long.
Yeah.
So it was like Beckham United, Miami United, and then Miami FC. Just kind of people saw that it was a thing and just associated with it. But as far as the lower divisions, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what MLS does with their third division, and how they're going to progress. I mean, obviously they spend a lot of money in like youth academies and things like that. And I think also they have, what are they, like the DA academies, or some like NPSL teams are tied within it. But yeah, the whole divisional thing is a mess. And the fact that there is no like structured fourth division, and, you know, multiple leagues are forming under it. And then just teams are jumping from league to league every year. It's just the mess that's U.S. soccer. And I mean, it's going to have to just be fixed at a upper level to make sense of the regional levels, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I you know, as far as her question, will there ever be an MLS 2 or an MLS 3? I mean, we're going to see a taste of it next year. You know, like you alluded to, is, you know, and MLS is creating their own developmental league. Now, they've done this before. They called it the Reserve League, but they didn't really fully get behind it. It sounds like this time they will get behind it. We don't know the name of it. We don't know much about it other than every MLS team will have will be in there. But not necessarily in the first year. There are a couple of teams that may keep in the first year a team in USL, but Inter Miami Fort Lauderdale CF will be a part of this new league, and then they're also going to invite other teams from other leagues to come and join it too. So it'll be a D3 league, and but there's not. Don't get excited about promotion and relegation, people. That's never going to happen.
That's not going to happen, especially with how everything's run here in the United States. Everything's a company, so yeah.
The only way that does happen if it's within said company, right? So if MLS does beef up their create their lower level, and this is like they would have to have that lower level for a good 10 years before they probably even entertain the idea, you know, and the same thing applies to USL. I mean, they would have, you know, their championship and their League One. It would be up to them if they want to do something, but it would have to happen within that one company. It's not you're not going to see a USL club ever come up to MLS
unless they pay a lot of money.
Come up with, like Sacramento tried to do. You know,
Montreal did that too.
Yeah, a lot of teams.
You know, a lot of these people, but that was back when USL wanted to. I think they wanted to get bought or something by MLS. I don't know what the deal was back then, but now it's a mess. And you know, I wish it was like the rest of the world, where it's so much easier. You know, look at the English league. You know, there's tons of lower divisions, but you know, there's a structure. You know, where these lower teams could go up. And that's not happening here. It's probably not, like Peter said, it's not going to happen for a very long time. Unless, you know, maybe 10 years. But how do you pay back all these people that paid for their franchises? You know, how could, like, you know, Miami Fusion, like the shirt that Drew has on, how could they come up? You know, they don't exist anymore. But how could they come up through the ranks and become a MLS first division team? Impossible.
Yeah, they just got to have some cash. And actually, Baldwin 4 says here, if I bought a club for $300 million, I would also fight ProRel for eternity. So, you know, and that's why I say it would only happen within said company. So if for example, MLS decided to do something like that, it's, you know, you buying in a team, you're buying into the corporate structure, you're buying into the big company, and so then you don't really lose because your investment is not so much into a team, it's into you're investing into MLS as a whole. So that's the only,
I think the real test is going to be, and who knows if it can even happen, is like a USL or a lower division team to win the Open Cup and get the CONCACAF Champions League spot, and then see how financially stable it makes them, or what kind of, if they can even afford to compete in it, or if the league or U.S. soccer is going to have to float them. I mean, it's not pro-rel, but that's going to maybe be the best test of how somebody gets tossed into a higher level market from a low level market in America. And imagine how they can handle it.
Imagine, like, you know, Ricardo Silva, he's got the money for it. He can get his team through, you know, to the next level to compete with CONCACAF teams. What if he wins it? That would be anarchy, my friend. Anarchy. And that could be the beginning of I don't know, something new, maybe a competing league against MLS. Like I said, it's anarchy. Peter's looking
Yeah.
at me like, you're nuts, man.
No, I mean, look, if that was going to happen, I mean, Ricardo Silva was that guy that would try to spearhead that. I mean, he sued MLS with the Cosmos owner, and lost. But
And U.S. Soccer.
yeah, exactly, and U.S. Soccer, yeah, and lost. But if there was a guy that was going to go and say, screw it, I'm going to create my own. I mean, if you really think about it, Ed, that's what the NASL was supposed to be.
Yeah.
We know, we were around Aaron Davidson, at the time the creator of the NASL, before the whole FIFA scandal, and he got arrested. But his goal.
But he had a chance, Peter. He had a chance to do something.
In public, he would say things like, hey, we're happy with where we are. We just want to be the best Division 2. But in private, I mean, he told me many times he wanted to be MLS. And what I would tell him is like, look, I want MLS. I want MLS in my city. And he's like, why? I said, because I want the best quality, the highest level of soccer in my backyard. And he would always tell me, how do you know that's always going to be MLS? Because he wanted to compete against them. He wanted to build a league to do it. And it didn't happen.
And that would have been something. Yeah. Unfortunately, he had legal issues, and that was the end of that. Yeah. But it would have been interesting to see it happen.
And the FBI knock on your door kind of
throws a brick in the whole thing.
The other thing too is in America, I think there's more teams that self-relegate or have to take financial hiatuses than there are that kind of want to take the next step for promotion. Like there's a lot of USL and USL two teams and PDL and NPSL that relegate themselves into a lower league or take a year off just to kind of financially restructure.
Yeah. I know Charleston Battery did that.
Yeah.
For example, I mean, they've been a lower level team for a very long time. And one of the few lower level teams that had their own stadium, that I remember had a bar in their stadium. I was like, man, that sounds so cool. Your own sports bar in your stadium. That's amazing. In a lower level. And I think they're in League One now, but I'm not sure. But at one point they were, a higher level team, and they self-relegated.
No, they're back in the championship.
Oh, are they back? See, okay. So they've moved up and down a few times.
Yeah,
and they're not the only ones.
I think Hartford maybe took a year off. I know there were a couple, maybe Pittsburgh. I know there were a couple other USL teams that just were like, hey, we need to. And I think too that's why with USL League One, that was kind of their idea, where it's like, hey, if you guys are going through rocky business, we can put you into League One and kind of restructure. But yeah, it seems like there's more people with plans for self-relegation than there is for promotion in America.
Yeah, and Baldwin says Battery had a stadium. Uh-oh, it looks like we just lost.
We may have lost Drew.
We lost
Hopefully
Drew.
he'll...
Okay, he's
there he is. He's back. He's back. So I think he accidentally hung up on... And there he's back.
I don't know what happened.
Don't hit that.
I think U.S. Soccer kicked me off.
There you go.
I think there's a conspiracy going on here, and
that's funny. All right, so let's get back to Miami FC a little bit, and just what are your it sounds like there's a very good chance that Tampa Bay Rowdies may win the championship. I mean the championship game is when.
Ooh, I'm not sure. I'm
not sure. It's
next weekend.
Something like that, right?
They had a hell of a game yesterday, right? It was yesterday.
Yeah, they came back. I think it was down from 2-0 to win 3-2. I mean, you could call them Miami FC's rival, but their championship, they were in the finals last year, and the game got canceled due to COVID. Mm-hmm. So they just had to basically wave around a Eastern Conference champion winner banner for a year. So at least they're able to get it back and prove themselves and win a championship the right way. So, good luck to them.
If they
good luck to them. Don't say good luck to them. It's the hated Rowdies. I mean, there's some good people up there, and there's some people in the Rowdies fans that watch this, but we hate the Rowdies. Some nice fans, but the Rowdies.
They're the rivals.
They're good. Now, don't get me wrong. They're a good team, but we don't like them. And let's not eever confuse that. Don't send any nice platitudes towards their way. But so Miami FC is not in the championship. They did make it to the playoffs. That's a good step. Inter Miami can't say that. What do you think for next year? We need a new coach. Do you think they're going to make wholesale changes within the players? What are your thoughts for next year?
Yeah, I think there's going to be a decent amount of player turnover. Not really based off any kind of on-field merit, but it's just the way how lower division soccer and USL Championship goes. You know, a lot of those guys are signed short-term and put on like options. But
1-year deals.
yeah, I mean, I think there's a good core that'll come back. There were maybe from last season to this season, there were maybe 5 players that returned. So that was a pretty bad bad layoff. But I think they're like figuring out some guys, and they have a few they like. A lot were taken from within the USL system for this year. So hopefully there's a couple more interesting players. Like this year, I was completely surprised they had Luca Antonelli, who used to play for like AC Milan and had a couple caps for the Italian national team. It's just one of those weird Ricardo Silva, rabbit out of a hat things where you're like, wait, how's
he's got the connections?
How's a guy, an older player from AC Milan all of a sudden on this team? And he didn't play every game. Who knows? It kind of seemed like a little bit of a retirement trip, but when he played, it was amazing to watch.
It's probably come to Miami.
When he was on the field, it was like, oh yeah, that's the guy who played professionally in Italy. But hopefully there's another little trick or two up his sleeve.
All right. He's got the connections.
Yeah, I think what they're gonna probably have, I don't know. I mean, it's another thing of is that worth the thing to try to get attendance is signing like a gimmick player. I mean, everybody always kind of tosses that out. Do you kind of want to pander to your neighborhood and get a South American player, a Haitian player? This year we had a couple guys from the Jamaican national team, 2 of the midfielders that play on the national team. I didn't really see a change in attendance, but they're great players, so win-win.
At that level, you sometimes do need a pander, so that's
Yeah.
Hey, Baldwin has a question here. Interesting. Detroit City is joining USL reportedly for $12 million. Do you think, like Ottawa, Miami FC might sell their rights? Oh, damn.
I don't think that's worth it to Ricardo to. If it were different, yeah, I think he could. Somebody else could easily sway another ownership group for that $12 million price tag. Detroit's going to be interesting. Like, that's a huge team, and in lower division soccer for the past 4 years, everybody's kind of pointed their finger at them and said, "I want that." Like, if you went to any kind of if you sat through any lower division soccer board meeting or sales pitch or investment meeting, they're just going to be like, "Oh, we're going to be like Detroit." How do you do that? I don't know, but this is the potential, So they left Nisa, and now they're going to be in a more structured league, so that'll be pretty interesting. They joined Nisa right after Miami FC, so I kind of was hoping to play them for that 1 year because just because of their reputation. But it is a huge get, and that is, they're coming with an amazing fan base already built in, like 5,000 people a game. So hopefully the USL will, I think it'll actually just help them maybe with local television and stuff when it's like, oh, we're not playing the Michigan Stars.
Oh,
all right.
Them again.
he dropped
the Michigan Stars, I think he said.
Yeah, he's back.
Oh, there he goes. He's coming. He's back.
We'll,
Good old Drew.
Let me
he knows his stuff.
Sign him, and then come back. Yeah, no, it's that's good stuff. I mean, Detroit will be a lot of fun to watch next year. Next year, Ed, you and I, we got to go to at least one Miami FC game. We got to go down there and see Miami FC. I've got to have a reason to wear my one of 3 Miami FC shirts that I have. The funny story is, and I told this here before, but the funny story is I got 3 Miami FC shirts for the price of 1 because they screwed up. And they kept sending me the wrong one. So they sent me the wrong one, and then they corrected by sending me a new one, and then they sent me the wrong one again, or they sent it to me in the wrong size, so they send me another one on top of that. So,
at least you got your money's worth. That's a good thing.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we're just gonna wrap it up with Drew here. Drew, we're just gonna say goodnight at this point, I think.
Yeah. It just says thanks for joining and then keeps kicking me out. So
I don't know why. But
the U.S. Soccer Federation and some Sports United marketing has hacked
We're gonna join you next year for at least one game to see Miami FC and see what they're doing and what this.
If I see you guys both at a game, I will go to a Inter Fort Lauderdale game.
Inter Fort Lauderdale.
Oh,
I'll give you a ticket to come, or Ed will. One of us will.
Yeah,
I wanna cheer on Ian Frey and Luis Zamudo.
Yeah, I've never seen them play yet, but so good luck with that. But but someday maybe. Yeah. Hey, Drew, thanks so much for joining with us and having some fun with us tonight.
Let us know how can we people
follow what you guys are doing.
Check out Magic City SOC on Instagram, Magic City Soc. I think it's magiccity.soccer is the website, and it's Houseman LOL on Twitter. But okay. Yeah, we cover a lot of lower division stuff, some of the lower division women's soccer in Miami, dabble in college, and probably we'll be doing a lot of stuff for the U.S. Open Cup this year, so that'll be exciting.
All right, good stuff. All right, thanks so much, and we'll talk to you at one of the games.
Yeah, awesome.
Right,
have a great night, guys.
Yep.
Take care, man.
All right, Ed, that was a lot of fun.
Good old Drew. Been a while, man.
I need you to take over for a second. So why don't you talk to the crowd there for a second?
Well,
I got some technical stuff to do.
I know what you're saying, but you put Drew Hausman on. There we go. Yeah, I was gonna say. So yeah, man, it was. It's great to talk lower divisions, but we need to talk a little bit Inter Miami because I know a lot of you guys are connecting because of that. We're not in the playoffs. We're going through the playoffs, and I hope Peter has been watching. I haven't because I've been, busy doing stuff at home, I guess. But I did see the Philadelphia game. They had a last-minute goal, which was really cool, and so they were able to advance. And whoa, Peter, what happened?
We're talking Inter Miami. So
okay, yeah. So I was talking. I don't know if you were able to hear, which I think you weren't.
I was.
We're about the MLS playoffs. They just started yesterday. I watched a little bit of the Philadelphia game, where they were able to squeak one out.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of the playoff games because what I don't like is the playoff games are not on ESPN Plus. They're putting them on the main channels, putting them on Fox Soccer and ESPN. And currently, I do not have those channels. I have ESPN Plus. I have Paramount Plus. I have every streaming service known to man, almost. But I don't have the big channel. I don't have cable. So as of now, so I haven't been able to see them, unfortunately. And what I would end up doing if Inter Miami was in the games, then I would get like Sling TV for a month just to watch the games. But since they're not in it, I haven't been watching it. But I've been following some of the scores and stuff and some interesting things.
Well, we had a new who was in there. He's a Atlanta fan. He was a little bit sad because Atlanta's out.
Yes, they are. Hang on, I'm trying to.
And the thing is, Atlanta would have ended up going against New England, so it still would have been pretty difficult since New England's probably the top seeded team, and of course, Inter Miami was able to beat them, but that's circumstantial, I tell you.
Yeah, I don't think we can claim any greatness.
Hey, man, we got to win against the best team in MLS.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, here's the bracket right as it stands. Let me try to fix that a little bit. But so we got Portland currently. They're live right now, and
looks like they got it.
Portland is gonna looks like they're gonna beat Minnesota. Kansas City beat Vancouver. So they both advance, and so Colorado looks like they'll be playing against Portland in the next round, and the winner of
Kansas
the Seattle
City.
RSL will play Kansas City. But then over here on the East, Atlanta lost to New York 2-0. So New York is going up against New England. You would think New England wins that game, but you never know in the playoffs.
Yeah,
and
one game.
And then Philly beat Red Bull, and they're going to play the winner of Nashville versus Orlando. So in this game, just the same way we feel about The same way we feel about
Rowdies.
The Rowdies, we feel as much, if
Nashville
not
all the
more.
way.
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. That's what I'm trying to say. Nashville all the way.
We want Nashville to go on, and but it's pretty interesting how everything's starting to line up. I don't know. I'm seeing maybe Seattle. People are probably going to want. Well, MLS probably wants Seattle to move on because they have a better, bigger stadium.
More eyeballs on the game.
More eyeballs on the ball. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
On the game. It's funny to see that the Western Conference is no California teams. Did you notice that?
Yeah, and speaking of California teams, did you hear Bob Bradley is out at LAFC?
He's out.
They agreed to part ways, kind of like how Paul Dalglish agreed to part ways with Miami FC. But the rumor is, he's going. Bob is going up to Toronto to coach his son, where also Bob's brother works in the front office. So it'll be a family affair up there in Toronto.
Yeah.
So word is Bob Bradley's going up to Toronto. Nothing official, definitely. But that's what they're saying. That's the rumors out there.
I think anybody would want to have Bob, and I was surprised that they didn't stick with Bob at LAFC, even though the team didn't make it to the to the playoffs or whatever. But they had a lot of injuries. Vela was out for most of the year, so there was a reason why. But
Richard Greenberg is hoping Bob Bradley goes up for his TFC.
He's a Toronto fan right there.
I mean, I would have loved to have Bob Bradley here if for whatever reason they parted ways with Neville or something like that. Bob would, I can understand also why they agreed to part ways in LA. I mean, he got them up to a point, but then has not been able to get them any further. And sometimes, as good of a coach as you are, sometimes you're preaching your philosophy and eventually it kind of goes on deaf ears. So you kind of need to change your scenery and go somewhere else. But he's an amazing coach, so there's no question. He would at least turn the club into a solid winning club. Whether they win the championship or not, you never know. But they would be a solid winning club because LFC is an entertaining contender. Always.
That's good stuff. And so who else did you see, Peter, in the playoffs that you think are going to advance? Other than New England, I think everybody thinks that New England's going to breeze through it, even though, like you said, you never know.
You never know.
The way these things go.
Yeah, I mean, over the Orlando-Nashville, I think I would take Nashville. Orlando kind of faded they started off the season really, really well, but then faded. So Nashville, I think, is got that. And so you're talking Philadelphia versus Nashville. And I don't remember the record of Philly this year. I didn't pay that much attention to Philly, but Philly's for several years has been a good team. So got a good coach with Jim Curtin. So, it might be Philadelphia beating Nashville there. And so that means that Philly then advances into the conference finals, potentially against New England.
Right. And that would be an interesting matchup. But,
in the East.
It's kind of, but, for us, it's like, wonk, wonk. Because,
well, and to talk about, we had Chris Henderson had a press conference, early last week, I think, what was it, Monday or Tuesday or something like that, shortly after we did the show. And, he didn't say a whole lot because he can't. But what he did say is basically that every player is available for trade or sale. But there is nobody that is safe, and which is completely understandable. When you're as bad as we are, why would you protect anybody? So everybody's
right.
And so that is understandable, but it's also a little scary, Ed, because think about it. He said they are actively having conversations with teams for trades. Because remember, this isn't world soccer. MLS has trades. There isn't trades in the EPL, but there is trades here. You'll see a lot of trades that are like a player in next year's draft plus X amount of general allocation money. You see a lot of $75,000 in allocation money kind of trades, for your journeyman in MLS. But think about it, Ed. So if they're interested in trading, and you look at our team, what 1 or 2 or 3 players, but one in particular, do you think the rest of the league would be interested in?
Out of all of our players, I think they'd go Gregory first.
You think? That's not who I was thinking.
Morgan?
That's who I think. Now, because while Gregory's great, Morgan proved in his first year to be a high flyer and really attractive, playing style and exciting and all that kind of stuff. Now, he faded last year, but, a club is going to see the potential and say what we can do with him, and bring that high attack and put him in a position that he feels more comfortable in, not doing less defense. I would be a little scared that, because here's the thing, when Henderson says that all players are available for trade, that means you are going to lose somebody you love. And actually, Michelle Kaufman asked a question about that. She said something to the effect of, fans are going to be upset if they lose a player that they love. I mean, how are you guys going to treat that if fans lose a player they love? And Henderson's answer to that was something like, and I'm paraphrasing, but it was something like, well, they'll learn to love a new guy. If we do our job right, they'll learn to love the new guy.
Right.
So that's
kind of cool.
It's cool, but you could lose somebody you love, like Morgan.
Well, a lot of the press around the world has been, saying that, after the coach talked about the team and all that, and the people that were protected, it seemed like, for example, Pizarro wasn't going anywhere. All these, the players that they didn't let go, whose contracts were not up. It sounded like they were going to keep everybody. But with what Henderson says, he's basically saying they're willing to get rid of everybody. So they could still move on to a different place. And I think that's interesting. And I think they're probably going to shop Pizarro around. I think they're probably going to, shop, talk to Matuidi, maybe have him retire early. I mean, they're moving things around. I don't know. When that was mentioned that they were going to keep those players, I never thought that they were going to actually hold on to every single one of them. I thought something was going to happen. Sure enough, I think we're going to see a lot of these players that they kept that are going to move on.
Yeah,
the machine is working. The ball is rolling, and I think it's. I could see Pizarro moving on. I think negotiations are going on. He's the only one I think could possibly leave. They'll get some money back, but I think they'll lose money, the money that they invested, that they thought they were going to make, sending him to Europe or something like that. Because I'm sure that was the promise that they had.
Mm-hmm.
That they told him, look, we'll shop you around. Because they had a whole different mentality. They thought they were going to win. They thought they were going to be a championship team. They thought they were going to be contenders. And
and some of the interesting thing that also that was brought up by Henderson is that we still have 3 DPs. We're planning on working with those 3 DPs. Then that's what I mean by he didn't say much, because he can't say, hey, we're shopping Pizarro and we're going to probably likely to sell him to a Mexican club. And he can't say, hey, we're going to try to convince Matuidi to retire and that we're still going to keep Higuain. He can't say all that. But
right.
That is likely to happen.
I would think so.
Here's Chris Arjun is asking our thoughts on Breck Shea's contract not being renewed. So I think all contracts that were up for renewal said, "See ya." What do you think about Breck?
I think they're probably negotiating anyway. They probably just said that.
What? And he did mention that several of these players that were released may be brought back, with renegotiated contracts. There were some surprises there. I was surprised with George Acosta. A lot of you guys may not even remember him because he hasn't played. I don't even know if did he play even a single minute for Inter Miami FC. Inter Miami. I'm not sure because he was injured. and then he recovered in Fort Lauderdale, and then in this past season played a full season in Fort Lauderdale and did really, really well. So he's a player I thought would get a good chance this year, but he's one of the ones they released out of contract. So that was surprising to me.
Perhaps in renegotiating, maybe he had.
Perhaps, but the interesting thing is, players create like highlight reels, and mainly so they shop themselves with these highlight reels. And George Acosta's dad was shopping basically his highlight reel, was putting up his highlight reel, and that's what you do when you're trying to get attention to your son. Because he needs a new contract someplace else. So I don't know. It makes me wonder. I don't know if I'm reading too much into his dad posting about his highlight reel, but made me wonder.
Yeah. Well, he probably got a call from his son, and he said, "Dad, they cut me," and he's probably like, "Oh, darn, let's go for it." But yeah, we don't know what's happening behind closed doors, and hopefully, I mean, we trust that Chris Henderson is going to do the right thing, and now this is. Neville has no excuse next year because now he's going to be working with Chris Henderson, and they're going to be talking about, what players they want. And, we know Henderson's got a lot of experience. He did it with Seattle before, and that team was good. So I have faith that he's going to, turn this thing around and get us some good players. I mean, he brought Gregory. He's going the Brazilian way, obviously, because we know there are a couple of players from Brazil that they're looking at right now. There's the rumor that they actually signed one of them.
Yep.
So, I don't know if they could sign people having, I don't know what they know more than I do about the numbers. So yeah, they're doing their thing.
Esteban has thrown a fit in the chat, calling me out, saying I won't talk about something. Just haven't gotten to it, Esteban. Relax.
About what?
Aesthetically speaking, Neville going Miami style by promoting his own son so soon after cutting 10 players will not look good at all, and the timing makes it worse after a miserable 2021 season. So he's talking about promoting Harvey. Harvey gets an opportunity.
I've heard from everybody that Harvey is the real deal.
Yeah, and that's it. Chris Arjun is also saying, is Harvey deserving of his call-up? And I don't care if Esteban thinks it's nepotism or whatever. The kid looked good. He looked good with Fort Lauderdale. He deserves
probably the best player, right?
Yeah, if you watch the Fort Lauderdale games, you have to admit he looked good. Now, there's a big difference in playing level between League One and MLS. Is he good enough to be in MLS? I don't know, but he should get an opportunity, at least in the preseason. And he may very well be a depth player on the bench, but the team has to go young. They've got to go young, and because of the sanctions.
Choice.
So
hey, and maybe Romeo will come up too. We don't know.
Well, not yet. What I had read is that the plans are for him to stay in Fort Lauderdale for at least for another year. But yeah, and what are you gonna call that nepotism too? I mean, is it nepotism where Bob Bradley's now going to go coach his son? In Toronto, is that nepotism? I mean, his son didn't. I think he coached. Before Michael Bradley was the star that he is, he played for New York, I believe, if I remember correctly. Wasn't Bob over there at some point? I don't know, but
I think so. I remember. Yeah,
I thought so. I thought there could have been some nepotism there in the early part of his career, and
he's sure shown that he could play. So.
Right. So if the kid's good, who cares? That's all that matters. So give him a shot. He looked good with Fort Lauderdale.
Right. Well, let's see.
Esteban's still, since we're talking about it, he's saying even if he is the real deal, the timing sure is not good. Nobody cares about timing. They need to create a team. Nobody. Yeah. I don't think.
And they need to create a cheap team.
I don't think
because they don't have money.
I don't think very many people are complaining about nepotism. They just want to see a winner. Nobody cares if it's the father, if it's his kid. They just want to see a good team. And if the kid's good, he deserves a shot. Oh, and see, Richard is backing up what I was thinking. Bob coached Michael at the Metro Stars. I thought so. It was a long time, and my memory's foggy because I'm old.
Yeah.
But but anyways, all right. So there's going to be a lot to talk about throughout this offseason. We're going to have some more shows about these kind of things. So there's a lot of fun tonight, though. Let's continue this conversation about the youth and about being upset about who they let go and who they bring up and all that kind of stuff. Because like I said, don't be surprised. Forget about Neville. Don't be surprised if you lose the player that you think is the only good player. If you lose a player like a Gregory or a Morgan or something like that, players that you want to keep. If you lose a Pizarro, you're going to feel like, oh, good, right? But if you lose a Gregory or a Morgan, you're going to be pissed off. So let's stay tuned for future episodes here to get everybody's reactions on what may or may not happen with these players moving forward. But
the off season is one of the more exciting parts because there's so much to talk during
drama
during the season. There's a lot to talk about, but there's a lot of drama during the off season. So we'll definitely be talking about all that stuff. Absolutely. And we're gonna have more guests, Peter.
Yeah, well, let's not announce them now because last time you did that, we got a cancellation, and then we had to go and pick up the B squad out in the lower levels.
Yeah, that's for sure.
But he was great. I really appreciate Drew coming on and spending some time with us and talking about Miami FC. I thought we would talk more Miami FC on this channel, but it's been so much to talk about with Inter Miami that we really haven't covered the team. So
there's been so much drama and very Miami style with this team. So it's, so there's we had tons to talk about, and unfortunately not enough time to talk about the lower divisions. And we don't have the time either because, we've got families and stuff.
Yeah, and we're out of time on this show too. But one thing, one goal is wanting us to give a shout out to Terry Allen's son, who's in our chat, who just won USL Player of the Year, Noah Allen. Noah Allen. How about that?
Awesome.
Congratulations. That's
Congrats,
now that's a
Terry.
kid. Now that's a kid, obviously, that should get an opportunity with the first team, right?
He's 17 years old, man. He's a young buck ready to go, and maybe we've got a future star right there. And we need defenders. He's a good defender, man. So
yeah. All right, so we'll talk more about him and stuff like that in future shows. So, hey, everybody, thanks so much for watching. Make sure to go to Caneswear and get all your Inter Miami gear. We'll talk about this stuff next week. And make sure, hey, have a great Thanksgiving. Be safe. I'm driving up to Ocala for Thanksgiving to go visit my father. Any plans for Thanksgiving, Ed?
Nothing, man. I'll probably just do a turkey here at the house and, have the family over and, be noisy. Like, I don't know if you've heard some noise in the background, a kid yelling, going crazy. Hey, it's part of life. Grandkids going crazy.
Good job. All right. Well, thanks so much, everybody, for watching, and have a great Thanksgiving, and we'll see you next week.